You ever look back at an old version of yourself and realize she prayed for the life you're living now, but she couldn't survive in it? See, there comes a point where comfort becomes a cage. And some of us have been asking God to elevate us, but we're still holding on to habits, people, and mindsets that belong to a past season. Growth doesn't always feel good. It doesn't always look graceful. Sometimes it feels like you're being stretched in places that were never meant to stay small. But I came to tell somebody today, you cannot stay loyal to who you were and expect to become who you're called to be. It's time to force yourself to outgrow the old version of you, because she got you here, but she can't take you there. Discomfort is the birthplace of transformation, but most of us spend our lives running from it. We label it as pain, rejection, or failure, when in reality, it's the soil where our next version begins to grow. You see, nothing that stays comfortable ever evolves. Growth doesn't come from the easy seasons. It comes from the stretching, the breaking, the moments where you feel like you're being pulled apart from everything familiar. It comes when life forces you to step outside of what you've mastered and into what you've never tried. That's the sacred tension between who you were and who you're becoming. Discomfort is God's way of inviting you to shift. It's His way of shaking the foundation beneath your feet so you'll stop building your future on outdated faith. Every great transformation starts with something that hurts, something that pushes you beyond your limit, something that makes you question whether you're capable of surviving what's next. But if you look back at every version of yourself you've already outgrown, you'll realize it was never the comfort that changed you. It was the heartbreak that woke you up, the disappointment that pushed you to pray harder, the uncertainty that taught you how to trust. Discomfort isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's heaven's way of saying, there's more in you, but you won't find it here. When a seed is planted, it doesn't grow in sunlight and comfort. It grows underground in darkness, under pressure, completely hidden. It's buried, forgotten, and surrounded by dirt. But that very pressure is what activates its potential. The discomfort of being buried becomes the catalyst for its breakthrough. You are no different. When life buries you beneath responsibilities, pain, or uncertainty, it's not to destroy you, it's to develop you. The dark doesn't mean you're done. It means you're being prepared to rise. Discomfort cracks open what's been closed. And that cracking can feel like breaking, but it's actually birthing. The truth is, we want transformation without transition. We want elevation without separation. We want purpose without pain. But transformation doesn't operate like that. It demands that you let go of what no longer fits, even when it feels like losing a part of yourself. The discomfort that comes from letting go is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're doing something new. Every time you outgrow a version of yourself, it will hurt. You'll miss the old patterns, the familiar routines, the people who understood the old you, but you can't stay small to keep others comfortable. You can't shrink to fit back into a life that no longer aligns with your growth. Discomfort introduces you to the parts of yourself you didn't know existed. It reveals your resilience, your grit, your faith. When you're stretched beyond your capacity, that's when you discover just how much capacity you truly have. When life puts you in situations you can't control, you learn how to surrender. When it takes away what you thought you couldn't live without, you learn how to depend on something greater than you. That's the beauty of discomfort. It exposes false security and replaces it with divine strength. Most of us pray for growth, but reject the process it requires. We ask for courage and then resist situations that test our fear. We ask for wisdom, but run from the lessons that come wrapped in failure. We want strength, but avoid the weight that builds it. Discomfort isn't there to punish you. It's there to equip you. Every challenge you face is a classroom. Every setback a teacher, every closed door a redirection. You can't evolve in ease. You evolve when you face what you thought would break you and realize it's actually building you. Discomfort also forces you to confront truth, the truth about your patterns, your excuses, your limitations. It shows you the walls you've built to protect yourself, but also to impress in yourself. Sometimes the growth you're praying for can't happen until you stop defending your comfort zone. You have to get honest about what you're holding on to that's keeping you stagnant. Maybe it's the fear of failure, the fear of being misunderstood, or the fear of being alone. But as long as you stay loyal to that fear, you'll stay limited. Discomfort confronts that fear and demands that you move anyway. It doesn't ask for your permission. It pushes you into purpose. When you start seeing discomfort as a sign of movement instead of a sign of danger, your whole mindset shifts. You begin to understand that the tension you feel is not a threat, it's a transition. It's proof that something inside of you refuses to settle. Growth is not supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to feel uncertain, because uncertainty is where faith begins. You don't need faith for what you can predict. You need faith for what you can't see. And discomfort, more than anything else, teaches you how to walk by faith and not by sight. Transformation is rarely dramatic. It's slow, it's silent, and it's often uncomfortable. It's waking up every day choosing discipline over distraction, purpose over pleasure, consistency over convenience. It's showing up even when you don't see progress yet. The discomfort of discipline is what shapes your destiny. The moments you feel unseen, unappreciated, or misunderstood are the moments when your roots are growing deeper. You can't see the progress on the surface, but something is strengthening underneath. There will be seasons when discomfort isolates you, when it feels like everyone else is thriving while you're just trying to survive. But solitude is often where transformation starts. You can't hear divine direction in constant noise. Sometimes discomfort separates you so you can hear the whisper of your next instruction. You're not being punished by the pause, you're being positioned for purpose. Every breakthrough requires a breaking point. Discomfort is that breaking point. It's where your endurance is tested, your faith is stretched, your character is refined. And just when you think you can't handle one more thing, that's usually the moment you're closest to change. Because discomfort never leaves you empty-handed. It always leaves you evolved. It always leaves you wiser, stronger, and more aligned with your purpose. So when you feel the tension, the stretching, the resistance, don't rush to escape it. Sit in it. Learn from it. Let it teach you who you are and what you're capable of becoming. Because the very pressure you're trying to pray away might be the one thing preparing you for the promise you've been waiting for. Discomfort doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to define you. It's not there to hold you back, but to push you forward. You can't transform in peace. You transform in pressure. You can't reach new levels staying in old comfort. And you can't discover new strength avoiding old pain. Discomfort is the evidence that something inside of you refuses to settle for average. It's the signal that the old you is losing grip and the new you is taking form. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be effective. You are being stretched because expansion is happening. The pressure you feel is not punishment. It's purpose in progress. And when you understand that, you stop running from discomfort and start rising through it. You can't carry old habits into a new season because every new level of life demands a different version of you. What sustained you in your last season will suffocate you in the next one. Growth requires shedding, not just shining. You can't pray for elevation and still cling to the comfort of what's familiar. The habits, mindsets, coping mechanisms that once helped you survive may now be the very things holding you back from thriving. It's not that those habits were wrong, it's that they've expired. There's an expiration date on certain patterns, and when you try to carry them past their purpose, they begin to decay your potential. Old habits feel safe because they're predictable. You know how to manage them, control them, and hide behind them. They give you the illusion of stability, even when they're quietly sabotaging your growth. But stepping into a new season requires honesty. It demands that you confront the routines that no longer align with who you're becoming. That might mean breaking cycles of procrastination, letting go of unhealthy relationships, changing how you speak to yourself, or unlearning the belief that you have to shrink to be accepted. You can't bring self-doubt into a season built for confidence. You can't carry old bitterness into a season meant for breakthrough. You can't drag yesterday's mindset into tomorrow's miracle. Change doesn't start with circumstances. It starts with habits. It starts with the small daily decisions that build your direction. You can't pray for peace but keep feeding your mind chaos. You can't ask for clarity while entertaining confusion. You can't hope for abundance while maintaining scarcity thinking. Every new season comes with new instructions, and following those instructions means being willing to release what no longer serves your purpose. The problem is release often feels like loss, but it's not loss, it's making room. You're not losing your identity, you're losing your limitations. You're not losing control, you're gaining alignment. When God calls you higher, He'll start convicting your habits. You'll notice things that used to satisfy you no longer do. Conversations that once entertained you now exhaust you. Places that once gave you comfort now feel uncomfortable. That's how you know transition is happening inside you before it ever shows around you. You can't hold on to what's old and expect to receive what's new. The two cannot coexist. The old habits were designed for your old capacity. The new season demands new discipline. Some of us are trying to walk into divine opportunities with inconsistent habits. We want destiny, but we don't want discipline. But destiny doesn't respond to desire alone. It responds to development. You can't manifest greatness with mediocre habits. You can't keep doing the bare minimum and expect maximum results. If you want to see something different, you have to be something different. And that starts in the unseen places. Your thoughts, your routines, your daily choices when nobody's watching. The external breakthrough always starts with an internal commitment. Old habits are often tied to old wounds. We repeat what once protected us, even when it no longer serves us. That coping mechanism, that avoidance, that constant need to control, it all came from a time when you had to survive. But now survival mode will keep you from thriving. The habits that helped you make it through pain can't carry you into purpose. At some point, you have to stop living like you're still in danger and start living like you're destined. That means confronting the emotional roots of your habits, because transformation isn't just about behavior, it's about belief. You can change your actions temporarily, but if your mindset stays the same, you'll always fall back into old cycles. A new season requires a new level of self-awareness. You have to know what triggers you, what distracts you, what drains you. You can't keep saying yes to everything and wonder why you're burned out. You can't keep giving your energy to things that don't give you purpose and wonder why you feel empty. Old habits are not just physical, they're mental, emotional, and spiritual patterns that keep you repeating the same year over and over again, calling it growth when it's really just comfort in disguise. If you want a new outcome, you have to start by breaking the rhythm of the old one. Sometimes God will disrupt your routine just to reveal how dependent you've become on it. He'll remove the crutch so you can learn to stand. He'll close the door so you'll stop settling. He'll shake your schedule so you'll prioritize what truly matters. Because new seasons don't come to validate your old patterns, they come to challenge them. You can't keep handling opportunities the way you handled obstacles. You can't manage blessings the same way you manage battles. Every new level of favor requires a new level of faithfulness. Think of it like shedding skin. When a snake grows, it doesn't expand inside its old skin. It releases it. The shedding process looks uncomfortable and even painful, but it's necessary for survival. If the snake refuses to shed, it suffocates in its own restriction. Likewise, when you refuse to release outdated habits, you choke the life out of your own growth. You were never meant to stay the same. The same comfort you're clinging to is the very thing keeping you confined. You can't hold on to what was and still reach for what will be. There's a reason why transformation feels lonely. It's because most people won't understand the version of you that's evolving. Old habits are often tied to old circles. And when you start breaking free, not everyone will clap for you. Some will call you distant, changed, or prideful. But growth isn't arrogance, it's alignment. And if they can't respect your discipline, they can't handle your destiny. You can't carry people who only fit the old you into a season designed for your purpose. This doesn't mean you stop loving them. It means you stop limiting yourself to keep them comfortable. Breaking old habits isn't easy because they're familiar, but familiarity is not the same as fulfillment. Just because something feels normal doesn't mean it's right for where you're going. You have to be willing to interrupt your patterns. That means waking up earlier, thinking differently, choosing peace instead of drama, forgiveness instead of resentment, faith instead of fear. It's not about perfection, it's about progression. Every small shift compounds into massive change. But that change only happens when you stop rehearsing the same behaviors, expecting different results. There's also a spiritual dimension to releasing old habits. When you let go of what's been controlling you, you make space for what's been calling you. God can't pour new wine into old wineskins. He can't bless what you refuse to release. You have to trust that when He asks you to leave something behind, it's because He's leading you towards something better. The discomfort you feel when breaking old patterns is proof that transformation is taking place. You're detoxing from your past. And detox isn't always pleasant. It's a process of removing what no longer belongs so something purer can take its place. Every time you decide to show up differently, you're declaring the life that you're ready for more. The moment you replace old habits with intentional ones, realign yourself with your purpose. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It happens daily, in the quiet, in the consistency, in the moments you choose change, even when comfort is calling your name. You can't carry old habits into a new season because the weight of what was will always hold down the wings of what's trying to be. And the longer you hold on to those habits, the longer you delay the life waiting to unfold within you. Elevation requires separation because growth and proximity often conflict. You cannot rise to the fullness of who you are meant to be while remaining anchored to environments, people, or routines that confine you. Seasons of separation are not punishments, they are preparations. The higher you are called to go, the more intentional you must be about who and what you allow around you. Separation is not about isolation. It is about alignment. It is the conscious decision to release what no longer fits your journey and to create space for what will carry you forward. Elevation demands clarity, and clarity often comes when you step away from the noise of familiarity. When you refuse to separate, you dilute your growth. You try to pursue new heights while dragging along weight that was never designed for your next level. Elevation requires shedding. Sometimes it's relationships, sometimes it's environments, sometimes it's thought patterns, and often it's all three. You will feel tension as you make these choices because separation is uncomfortable. It feels unnatural to walk away from what has been a part of your identity for so long. But if you want to experience the power, influence, and peace that come with your next season, you must learn to walk in the discomfort of leaving behind what no longer serves you. Separation is also a test of faith. It's easy to remain close to people and situations that are familiar because they feel safe, but God rarely calls us to safety in order to reach our destiny. He calls us to faithfulness, which often requires stepping into unknown territories. When you embrace separation, you are choosing trust over comfort. You are choosing to believe that what is ahead is greater than what you are leaving behind. This is how elevation works. It begins in the unseen, long before it manifests in the physical. You must first separate internally, mentally, and spiritually before you can see the external breakthrough. One of the greatest obstacles to elevation is the desire to maintain approval. Many of us remain tethered to people who no longer align with our purpose because we fear judgment, rejection, or loneliness. We keep ourselves small to keep others comfortable. We compromise our growth because we are afraid of the tension separation might cause. But the truth is, you cannot ascend with people who are anchored in the old season of your life. You will either rise or remain bound, and often that requires letting go of approval, validation, and familiarity. Elevation is personal, and it often demands solitary courage. Separation is not always about people, it's about seasons and environments too. You cannot remain in a place that stagnates your vision and expect to flourish. There are physical, emotional, and spiritual spaces that hold energy meant for the past. Elevation calls you to move beyond comfort zones, familiar routines. It requires stepping into spaces that challenge you, stretch you, and expose you to growth opportunities. You cannot hold on to what you've always known and simultaneously embrace the unknown. One demands departure. The path of elevation is rarely crowded, and that is by design. The process of separation can feel lonely, but solitude is often where transformation begins. In the quiet, away from distraction, you confront the truths about yourself that others' presence might obscure. Separation gives you perspective. It allows you to see patterns, beliefs, and behaviors that no longer serve your progress. In that space, you learn to trust your own voice, follow your own convictions, and respond to divine direction without interference. Elevation is a process of alignment, and alignment requires discernment, which often comes from distance. Separation also teaches boundaries. You learn what you will tolerate and what you will not. You realize that not everyone is meant to walk with you into your next level. Elevation demands discernment because proximity can either propel or hinder you. People, habits, and environments that were once supportive may now become hindrances. To rise, you must establish clear lines between what nourishes you and what drains you. Boundaries are not walls. They are gates that determine the quality of what enters your life. Elevation requires vigilance in guarding your energy, focus, and time. One of the most misunderstood aspects of elevation is that it is a journey of accumulation when it is often a journey of subtraction. You are not moving forward by gathering more. You are moving forward by letting go. Every unnecessary tie you maintain, every unresolved attachment, every comfort you cling to acts as ballast, weighing you down. Separation is the act of releasing that weight so you can ascend. It is uncomfortable because it feels like loss, but it is necessary because it is preparation. Growth demands space, and space demands separation. Separation is not abandonment, it is intentional progression. When you choose separation, you are not rejecting life or people. You are choosing the version of yourself that is waiting to emerge. Elevation is never accidental. It is the result of conscious decisions, deliberate action, and disciplined detachment from what no longer serves your destiny. Those who embrace separation understand that discomfort is temporary, but transformation is permanent. The discomfort of leaving behind what is familiar is always outweighed by the opportunities available when you step into what is aligned. Spiritual elevation often comes with a call to separate from old mindsets. You cannot ascend while holding on to limiting beliefs. You cannot receive clarity while entertaining confusion. You cannot embrace purpose while defending your past. Separation is a mental and spiritual practice as much as it is physical. It requires introspection, prayer, and courage. It requires saying no to what has been normalized in your life and saying yes to what has been ordained. The higher you are called, the more intentional you must be about the quality of your thoughts, choices, and associations. Elevation also requires a vision for your future that exceeds your attachment to the past. When you can see what God has prepared for you, the process of separation becomes easier. You no longer cling to the old because your eyes are fixed on the new. You begin to understand that the discomfort of letting go is the doorway to your next season. Separation becomes less about fear of loss and more about anticipation of breakthrough. The promise of what is ahead outweighs the comfort of what is behind. Sometimes separation is gradual, sometimes it is sudden, sometimes it is gentle, sometimes it is forced by circumstances beyond your control. Regardless of the method, the principle remains the same. You cannot elevate with what was meant for your past. You cannot carry old energies, toxic dynamics, or outdated thinking into the new level of life that requires a fresh version of you. Elevation demands preparation, and preparation often requires distance. Separation is not a punishment, it is a process of refinement. Every person called to rise experiences moments of solitude, seasons of detachment, and periods of revaluation. These moments are not setbacks, They are setups for the manifestation of purpose. The tension of leaving behind what is familiar challenges your faith, tests your patience, and stretches your vision. Elevation does not occur in crowded spaces or among those resistant to change. It occurs when you are willing to release, detach, and trust that God is orchestrating what is next. Separation is the pathway that allows your purpose to unfold without interference, compromise, or distraction. The principle of separation applies to all areas of life: spiritual, emotional, mental, and relational. Elevation requires careful curation of your inner circle, your environment, your habits, and your focus. It asks you to evaluate what nourishes your growth versus what diminishes it. It asks you to choose alignment over attachment, potential over comfort, and vision over familiarity. Every step you take towards separation is a step toward the version of yourself that is fully equipped to handle your next level. Elevation requires intentionality. You cannot stumble into it. You cannot rely solely on desire or hope. You must create the conditions for growth, and sometimes that means stepping away from people, situations, and routines that have defined your past. Separation is not the absence of connection. It is the presence of discernment. It is the conscious act of clearing space so that your next season can enter without obstruction. Without separation, elevation is delayed, compromised, or even impossible. Separation is a process of refinement. It sharpens your focus, strengthens your character, and solidifies your faith. It tests your patience, stretches your courage, and prepares you for opportunities that could never fit within the confines of your old season. It teaches you to trust timing over convenience, purpose over people, pleasing and divine direction over familiar patterns. Elevation is not for the faint of heart. It is for those willing to separate, stretch, and endure in order to arrive at the fullness of their calling. Separation also clarifies your identity. When you remove the influences that cloud your perception, you begin to see yourself more clearly. You understand what you value, what you are capable of, and what you are called to pursue. Elevation is as much about discovering who you are as it is about achieving external success. The act of separation creates the conditions for self-discovery, empowerment, and intentional growth. It teaches you that your next level is never about what you take with you. It is about who you become in the process of letting go. Elevation requires sacrifice, but the sacrifices made in separation are investments in your destiny. You must be willing to prioritize what matters most over what feels comfortable. You must be willing to invest in yourself, even when others cannot understand your choices. You must be willing to release what was safe in order to embrace what is significant. Separation is the discipline that precedes the manifestation of purpose, and every act of intentional detachment moves you closer to the life you were created to lead. Separation is not the end, it is the threshold. It is the place where transformation begins, the space where potential becomes reality. Elevation demands that you leave behind what was meant for the old version of you so that the new version can emerge fully. It requires courage, faith, and clarity of vision. Demands that you trust the process, honor the journey, and believe that the discomfort of letting go is temporary, while the reward of rising is eternal. Every person who has ever experienced true elevation has walked through separation, and it is through that act that they discovered the fullness of their purpose.